Hi. So, quickly today, I want to talk a little bit about personal core beliefs. And I don't necessarily mean like in a religious sense, I mean like beliefs that you hold about the world, what's possible, yourself, and what you're capable of. I know that recently there's been like a surge in personal development, and it seems like everybody's a life coach, and sometimes that can be a little overwhelming. No one wants to come across disingenuous. Nothing is perfect all the time, and I think sometimes when you're inundated with personal development or people kind of telling you, oh, just stay positive, like have positive thoughts and positive beliefs, it seems a little disingenuous. Feels like you're telling people to dilute themselves. But one thing that I experienced a few years ago was a pretty significant shift in the way I thought about myself and the things that I was capable of. And it started with just a belief that certain things were possible. And I remember when I first started getting back into the gym and started working out, I didn't necessarily think or believe that I could lose weight or get back in shape or get back to a relatively healthy routine. I was sort of feeling as if I was really stuck, and I think that had a lot to do with my core beliefs that I was sort of entrenched in, and I didn't even necessarily realize it because it was so insidiously buried in my subconscious. And I think that was ultimately what I had to fix and what I had to change. So a lot of times we have certain beliefs or certain narratives because narrative is the most powerful way in which we make sense of ourselves in the world. And we tell ourselves stories, and stories, narrative, beliefs that we have, it could all be the same thing, however you want to look at it. But there's certain things that we tell ourselves that we can do, and there's certain things that we tell ourselves that we can't do. So whenever I'm meeting with a new client, whether it be for nutrition or working out, we have to address those core beliefs. So what I mean by that is sometimes you have beliefs about what is possible as far as losing weight, losing body fat, getting in shape, developing a healthy routine, getting to a place where food isn't overwhelming and scary, getting to a place where you don't necessarily need to worry about the things that you're eating, getting to a place where you don't feel like you're either gaining weight or in full-on diet mode. There's a place where you can kind of just maintain good health or good overall practices, and that will help facilitate results as far as fat loss or just feeling better, getting an adequate amount of macronutrients and micronutrients. So the three macronutrients, just protein, fats, and carbs, getting a balanced amount of those. And micronutrients are just vitamins and minerals. So those are going to come from fruits, veggies, lean protein, the things that make you feel good. So I'll give you a quick example. One, and it doesn't have anything to do with fitness or nutrition. So let's say that you grew up and your parents were always fighting about money. So this is a pretty common one. Not everybody experiences this, but a lot of people do. So they grow up and they've listened to their parents argue about money, or one of their parental figures says money is the root of all evil, and that's something that they repeat over and over and over again. So what do you suppose the core belief is that you're going to grow up with when it pertains to money? It's probably going to be that money is the root of all evil, money is bad, I don't need money because money will make me a bad person, or getting it is going to make me a bad person, or I'm going to have to be a bad person in order to get it. You may have a scarcity mindset when it comes to money, like there's never enough, or that you can't spend it, or that you have to spend it. You're just going to have a lot of negative core beliefs and deeply ingrained subconscious thoughts regarding money. Okay, if you grow up during those developmental years perpetually hearing that money is bad, or that money is hard, or that it's difficult to survive without money, or that there's not enough money, or that if you have money that means somebody else doesn't have money. There's a lot of negativity associated with that particular thing that you grow up with. So that may be something that directly influences your adult life regarding money. So the same thing happens with food, the same thing happens with fitness. Let's say you grow up, you don't necessarily like to exercise. Well, that bad experience is going to become a narrative that you tell yourself over and over and over again, and it becomes a loop, and then it gets so etched and ingrained into your subconscious that becomes your belief. So your belief is that exercise is hard, exercise is terrible, I don't like the way it makes me feel, I feel uncomfortable when I'm exercising. So you can see how having a subtle belief about something may completely influence you for years, maybe even decades, maybe even your entire life. And depending on how open-minded you are when it comes to stuff like this, it may stick with you. So that's how beliefs directly drive our behavior. So you have a belief about something, and then that gets etched into your subconscious, and then you basically create a thought loop that repeats over and over and over again. And our mind is really good at doing this. They've proven this, that our mind is creating those loops, those cyclical thoughts, in order to make them easier to come to us as quickly as possible so that we can think about them over and over and over again. So this is the best case for positive thinking or positive beliefs, because you can do the reverse. You can intentionally implant certain beliefs or just repeat things to yourself, and that will just as easily etch into your subconscious through a process called myelination. If you really want to get into the weeds of this, just Google it. If you want to change your beliefs, you just have to repeat them to yourself. You don't necessarily need to break down the old, you just need to build upon them with new. You don't necessarily need to break down old belief patterns, you just need to build new ones, okay? And eventually those become your default, and that's what your mind attaches to. And every once in a while, you'll revert back to old negative thought patterns. That's just the nature of doing those thought patterns for years and maybe even decades. So it takes practice, it takes deliberate, intentional practice to develop these other belief patterns that you have, okay? So one thing I want you to do is just think about some of the beliefs that you have regarding nutrition, food, diet and exercise, being physically fit. Examine those beliefs that you have about those, and if there are any that are inherently negative or make you feel bad, you might really try to decipher what those particular beliefs are and maybe where they stem from. Maybe it's something happened in your childhood during developmental years. Maybe something happened in early adulthood, which can last a long time or stay with you. And maybe see if there's a negative lens on it, maybe try to reframe it and build something new that's positive on top of it. Like, instead of exercise makes me feel uncomfortable or I don't know how to exercise, you could say, I really enjoy being healthy, so I'm going to learn how to exercise in a way that suits me and my lifestyle. So that's just an easy example of how to reframe or restructure a belief. And then you can start repeating it to yourself. And you can even write these down. I know that seems kind of woo-woo and ridiculous, but it's been proven over and over again that that's how our brains work. If you repeat something to yourself over and over and over again, eventually your subconscious is going to latch on to it, because your subconscious can't discern whether it's negative or positive. It's just going to take the input and start the myelination process. And that's where it repetitively cycles in your mind, and it'll come out in different circumstances. That's one very powerful way in which our beliefs drive our behavior. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Hope it wasn't too long-winded, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me here.